Good morning, children. We are again back with the same topic from geography, air. So, a subtopic we are learning weather and climate. So, today when I woke up in the morning, I just opened the door, I just opened the window and had a look outside to find out what the weather is outside today, because I wanted to come to school today. And yesterday the weather was very fine, and so when I opened the window, I found it was a little bit cloudy and it seemed as though it will be raining. So, what I did is I did all my work very fast, because I have to come to school, I have to finish off my work very fast because the weather may change. So, why did I look outside, or why did I do my work very fast? Because I know that the weather may change very fast. So, sometimes it looks cloudy, then at the same time after some time it may become sunny day, or it may be raining also. So, I cannot predict weather. So, that is why I looked outside to find what is the condition of weather. So, the two terms you often hear, weather and climate. So, these are the two terms which you often hear, and these two terms are also very closely related to each other, that sometimes you may be finding it difficult to separate weather and climate, and sometimes you get confused also what is the difference between weather and climate. And these two things, that means the weather and the climate, they not only determine, they are very important as they not only determine the human activities, they also determine each and every walk of our life, like our food habits, our traditions, our festivals. Everything is dependent upon this weather and the climatic condition. So, what do you mean by weather and what is climate? So, weather means it is a particular condition of the atmosphere prevailing over a small area and over a particular period of time. That means it may be a particular period of time, means it may be a day or a second or a minute or even a month. So, whatever the changes that occur during this short duration of period or for short period of time is called as weather. So, weather means it is a particular condition of atmosphere that prevails over a small area over a particular period of time, whereas weather means it is a sum total of all the weather conditions that exist for a longer period of time, that means you can say for over more than 35 years. So, that is called as climate. So, we will find out what is the difference between weather and climate. As already I told, weather is something that exists only for a few minutes or few hours. It is unpredictable and it may be lasting only for a few moments or a day. It keeps on changing. Weather keeps on changing from place to place, from region to region, and from time to time. So, it has I already told it has a great impact on the life and all the activities of human beings, whereas climatic condition is the sum total of all the weather phenomenon that take place over longer period of time. That means you will be always saying the desert, the climatic condition of desert is very hot, or many parts of Africa have very harsh climatic conditions. You say the polar regions are always colder. So, this is what you say related to climatic conditions. So, climatologists are the people who learn about climatic conditions, and meteorologists are the persons who learn about the weather conditions, and always weather is being forecasted by the meteorologist, and you can always watch it weather forecasting on radios, then on TVs, newspapers, etc. So, that is related to weather and climatic conditions. Now, you are moving on to what are the elements of weather and climate conditions. So, elements of weather and climate. There are a number of elements that constitute weather and climate. They include temperature, pressure, precipitation, humidity, sunshine, which you call insolation. So, all these are some of the elements or factors which determine the weather and climatic conditions. So, you will be moving on to today you will be discussing two elements of weather and climatic conditions. And now there are a number of instruments also which are being used in order to measure this atmospheric conditions. So barometer, in order to measure pressure we use a barometer. In order to measure temperature we use a thermometer. Then rain gauges are there to measure rainfall or the amount of rainfall. Then there is wind vane which is used to find out the speed of wind. So all these are instruments that are being used for measuring these elements. Now moving on to temperature. What is temperature? Temperature means it is the degree of hotness or coldness of air. Sometimes you feel it, the temperature, or you feel the air as very hot. Sometimes you feel the air as very cold. So this degree of hotness or coldness is called as temperature. And the main source of energy that we receive on earth is sunshine, which you also call as insolation. So what is insolation? Insolation means it is the amount of sun rays that we receive onto the earth. And this change in temperature is one of the main factor which determines or which affect all the other elements. Now insolation, I told, it is one of the main factor which determines the temperature of a place, and the amount of insolation or the amount of sun rays that we reach or that we receive on earth keeps on changing from place to place, or it varies from place to place. Now the amount of insolation or the amount of sun rays that we receive is more in places of equator, and as you move away from the equator this temperature goes on decreasing. That you have learned earlier in the previous chapter related to the heat zones. You had learned about the 3 heat zones. So near the equator the temperature is very hot because it receives direct rays of the sun. So as you move away from the equator the rays of the sun goes on decreasing. So here you call it as the torrid zone. Then we have the temperate zone where we have mild climatic conditions. Again as you move away from the equator the temperature further goes on decreasing, and when it reaches the polar regions it gets, because of the slanting rays of the sun, you have these areas being covered with totally covered with ice and snow, which you call as the frigid zone. So this is how temperature affect the climatic conditions, or temperature affect the weather phenomenon of a particular place. You have learned it earlier itself, what is torrid zone, temperate zone, and the torrid zone, temperate zone, and what is the frigid zone, and how temperature decreases. So temperature will be higher near the equator, and as you go away from the equator temperature goes on decreasing, and as it reaches the poles the temperature is very less, that it is completely covered with ice and snow. Then in urban areas, in towns and cities, you have seen that the temperature is comparatively higher at night compared to village areas. This is mainly because in cities and towns you can see very big concrete buildings, then asphalt is there on roads. All this get heated up during the daytime, and this heat is released out during the night, and this crowded high-raised buildings in cities trap up all the warm air, and they release it, or they raise the temperature of these areas which are released out during the night time. So this is how the temperature varies in cities and towns or in urban areas compared to village areas. So this is related to temperature. Now there are a number of factors also which determine the temperature of a place. It depends upon the latitude. That is what we learned here when we learned about the heat zones. Then altitude. Altitude means it is actually the height of a place. So when you move higher up, the temperature goes on decreasing. That is why near the sea or near in plain areas the temperature is very very high. When you move towards the hilly areas or higher regions, especially high range areas, you know that temperature is going on decreasing. It will be much colder. So that is variation in temperature. Now next is distance from the sea. People living closer to the sea experience moist climate. So as you move away from the seashore or as you move away from the river banks, you know that the temperature will be going on increasing. So all these are the factors which determine the temperature of a place. Hope you understood what is temperature. Thank you, children.